finished the buddy read for the month yesterday. Okay, well, by the time you're seeing this, it would have been like several weeks ago, but we are getting things filmed in a timely manner in 2025. I'm gonna knock on some wood now. Yes, all right. This was an interesting reading experience. Like, it was very readable, fast-paced, enjoyable for most of the story. I enjoyed it. Then there were some parts that were odd and inappropriate giggling by myself. Well, okay, one time it was the character as well, but mostly myself at odd moments. Okay. This book, though, that I am talking about was our February buddy read, Phantasma by Kaylie Smith. This is the first in a quartet, I believe it's planned to be a quartet, of the Wicked Games. The plot of the story centers around the competition that is Phantasma. That's the name of the competition, and the location, which is a traveling, ginormous Gothic manor. It magics itself from city to city as the competition ends and is set to begin again. And it takes over kind of the place of where it goes. Like when it comes to New Orleans, where this book is located, it situates itself on the grounds of one of the cathedrals there. And it is huge, like huge. There's different wings of the manor. We know that there is 4 floors. She goes up 4 flights of stairs to get to the rooms where she will be located. And the competition itself takes place over 10 days. There are 9 trials representing the 9 circles of hell, and each trial is supposed to be representing, something from that aspect. To win Phantasma and your ultimate prize of pretty much whatever it is you want, you just have to be the last one within Phantasma after the 9th trial, left alive, last one in, period, and you are granted your wish, kind of, or greatest desire, whatever you ask for of the devil in charge, because it is run by devils. It is the devil's manor, run by devils and ghosts and phantoms and ghouls. Well, the ghouls, they just do the hauntings. They don't really think. So people join this competition for the chance at this grand prize in every city it goes to. Even though it has a high mortality rate, low success rate, people still jump at the chance because of course they do. The book takes place maybe somewhere around the 1920s, as there are automobiles, but mostly carriages. Our main character talks about wearing a corset. The character, though, herself, is just going to be Ophelia Grimm. It is totally from her perspective. Solely from her perspective. And her mind is kind of a scary place to be, because she suffers from OCD. The way it manifests to her is not just a compulsion to have to do the tapping on things 3 times. Normally it's 3. Sometimes the shadow voice, though, will say another number. Like she mentions early on in the book that she knows she tapped her headboard 9 times, so her family should be safe. This is going to be a recurring theme with this shadow voice and these intrusive thoughts, because that is the name she gives to the intrusive thoughts voice in her head. That's what her mother has called it. And it's a very dark place to be. It gives her this level of anxiety, much higher kind of than what any of the other people in the competition have to deal with. But at the same time, she's already used to questioning whether or not what she's seeing around her is real. Also, Ophelia is from a line of necromancers. And at the beginning of the book, she is just coming into her whole power, as her mother has unexpectedly died and the oldest member of the family inherits these abilities. So throughout the competition, Ophelia is getting more used to her powers, learning how to control her powers, and figuring things out, and working with the other character that you'll see the most, which is Blackwell. And I love Blackwell pretty much from when we first met him, because he is sarcastic and he's a huge flirt and uber kind of protective. Uber protective of her. And he's always protective of her, even when he is antagonizing her and getting on her nerves, and even when she's being a jerk. Working together, of course, the romance thing will happen, though you fall in love in Phantasma at your own risk. Their romance, as this is a spicy fantasy book, this is maybe a medium burn, as flirting. Blackwell's a huge flirt, so he starts flirting with her early on. She's like, whatever. And then things do start to happen. Not super quickly, but like where not everything happens super quickly. There's some, build up to things, some teasing, things. So a medium burn, not a slow burn, maybe a medium burn. I don't know how to describe that right. And then, once we get into it, it gets into spicy territory. That some of those scenes, though, were the instance of the inappropriate giggling, because I don't think that's the response that it, wanted me to have. One of the topics that I wish the book would have handled better was the magic. We just know there's magic. And there is a list of hierarchy of paranormal beings at the beginning of the book, as well as trigger warnings, of course. But okay, so we know there are all these beings, but there's just magic. It's not really defined. It's just one of those books where there just is, and it just is. It does the things. Mostly, pretty much everything happens. The phantom snaps, the devil snap, and it just is. Ophelia, her magic is, there are spells all related to necromancy, which we never get to learn about any of those because it's not important to the story, I suppose. But still, we know there are spells. We know that she can use her magic, and it's kind of just like a friction of some sort, and she lights candles that way. And she can heal herself, but that's mostly just the innate magic in her body that does that. But having to heal herself so much, though, depletes what she can do, because there's the well of power kind of, or the core of power within her. It gets depleted by usage, so over usage, and she's defenseless. But I would have liked to know more. I don't know, maybe it'll get explored more in, other books of this series. Somehow I doubt that, because of the type of book it is. I don't think we'll ever explore, the depth of magic, the way of magic. It's okay. The pacing of the book, though, super, super fast. Like, when I say it was readable, it's because we're constantly moving. Things are constantly going on. The trials themselves, though, were also fast. Pretty much each one was a chapter. And so that was kind of sad. The competition aspect was really quickly. That might be all I can say without spoilers. And I feel like I already babbled a little bit more into things. So we'll stop here, and then we'll get into spoilers, and then we'll go with our final thoughts and the rating of the book at the end, if you would like to just skip over the spoilers into that. Okay, they should be gone now, anybody who didn't want to see the spoilers. Now, the first one, I don't know, it feels rude to say it because intrusive thoughts are a real thing for people and real thing people suffer from. But it's just the way that it was portrayed. Like, from the beginning, I knew it was intrusive thoughts, and that's perfectly fine. She has the shadow voice. Understandable. And it escalated kind of when she got into Phantasma. But also the way it was written a little bit was like, okay, maybe it's not just her intrusive thoughts, or it's not just a part of her own mind. Maybe this is something magically that's happened to her, or a curse on her, especially when we found out about her parents. But it never developed like that. It's just, we talked about it on Discord, and we felt this way because of how it was around Blackwell. Anytime she was around Blackwell, it would go away pretty much. Like, you hardly ever heard from the shadow voice when he was around. And it did, it was more intense in Phantasma. And that could just be stress. That is totally understandable that it would be more intense as she's in this higher stressful situation. But why did it go away around Blackwell? I mean, maybe that is a real thing for people, but I don't know. And the author's note herself, she does say that this was based off her own experiences with OCD. And everybody's experiences with OCD are even a little bit different, which sounds a lot like people on the autism spectrum, how everything is different case by case. There are generalizations, sure, and things that do affect lots of people, but case by case, everything is different. So it's hard to say, and I don't want to nitpick to that. It seemed like it was leading somewhere, and then it didn't. I already kind of mentioned, in the pacing about the trials, that they, it was a chapter. So I was a little bit sad that they were so short. Their intensity too. When you start out, and she survived the first one, Blackwell even told her, that was just the start. They're only going to get worse from here. But they didn't. Like, okay, the first two, intense. The next few, kind of blah. Kind of easy seeming. Sure, they were scary, whatever. You think smart, which, okay, there could be that too. Because most people weren't getting, adequate sleep there, that you wouldn't be thinking clearly anymore, you wouldn't be able to process through things. The romance overall, while I liked it, there's this one aspect that I'm afraid is going to be a drama issue later on if they come back to being with these characters in another book in the series. Because I know the next book is going to follow her sister, but they'll probably be in it. Because they still don't know that one specific detail about the locket and Ophelia. And then it'd be like, well, is it even me you love, or was it the blah? I can see that being a drama. Also, she was just too wishy-washy with Blackwell that whole time. And the scene with Sin, and just, no, it's only going to happen one time, it's not going to happen again. And then I'm like, you're just a distraction, just distract me, never going to do this again. And then immediately go through another trial and be like, oh, Blackwell, I'm sorry. There's just, come on. He has feelings too. And he has been nothing but here for you and trying to look out for your safety. The inappropriate giggling had to do with, in the first spicy scene they had, where she was, made one of those stupid romance book comments where they're like, you put her hand, all the way around and her fingers wouldn't touch. And I thought to myself in my head, I was like, now I know I have small hands, but she's like 5'6". So her hands are going to be bigger than mine. Why do we do this in books? Why? It's not realistic, and that was a weird thing. And there was another time in one of the much later scenes, I don't remember what made me giggle anymore, but I don't know. Okay, those are all of my spoiler thoughts. Overall, the book was okay. It was an okay read. I may still be picking up the sequel eventually. I don't know right now. The good things about this book, though, I love Blackwell. He is my male main character that I like a lot. I liked that it was fast-paced, that it kept me wanting to read. It kept me going on to the next one and moving along. If it had been slower paced, it probably wouldn't have worked as well, especially how it didn't end up focusing on the competition as much as I wanted it to. And I did like the overall story of like why she was there, what they were working towards, how the things they uncovered. That was a pretty good job too. The things that I didn't like so much, though, the meh parts, that the trials were over so quickly. I don't know why I said that in the last part. Now I said that the trials were way too fast, though. They were not hard, intense enough. That sounds wrong. And the drama bits in the romance. That was irritating. Overall, though, the book came out to be like a 3.5. It's still rounded to a 3.5. And I may continue the series. Possibly, probably. I don't know at this point. Not right now. Or in the near future. But eventually we might follow along to Genevieve's story to see where we take this and how, if those competitions works better. Have you tried this book? Apparently it won a lot of awards last year. Well, like two awards. I don't know. And lots of people liked it. So have you tried this book? What were your thoughts on it? Would you want to try it now after I've said the things I've said? I would love to hear your thoughts, though, in the comments, or you can talk to us on Discord about it. I hope you're having an excellent day. You'll hit the like button if you did like this video. Check out some of my others and subscribe if you like my stuff. I hope you're finding something great to read today, and I'll see you in the next one.